Good morning and welcome to Innovations in Autoimmunity. My name is Lily Stairs and I am the board chair of the Autoimmune Association. This is always one of my favorite sessions of the entire summit. Today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from two powerful industry leaders who are totally disrupting the way that we view and treat autoimmune disease. For those of you who tuned into my opening remarks, you heard me talk about hope for the future. This is it. These two innovators are truly delivering game-changing solutions for tackling autoimmunity. So with that, I want to bring up our first speaker, Dr. Peter Mag. He is the CEO of Kyverna Therapeutics. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Mag.
Well, thank you so much, Lily, for having me. It's amazing to be here speaking to you and the Autoimmune Association. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's amazing. What I would like to talk to you about is exactly what Lily was talking about, a game-changing, a paradigm shift in how do we think about autoimmune disease. And we think about the paradigm shift with what is CAR T-cell therapy and how can this help patients. So let me just share with you Fabienne. Fabienne is a myasthenia gravis patient, which is an autoimmune disease which is driven by B cells. And let's roll with a video so you see what happened with Fabienne after she has received a cell therapy. Terrific. I still get goosebumps when I see that video because this is what it's all about for us at Kyverna. Fabienne was receiving a single shot of CD19 CAR T-cell therapy from Kyverna 101. That is our experimental drug treatment for myasthenia gravis patient that has been applied to her in a German experimental setting. She was wheelchair bound when she came into the clinic, and 50 days after you saw her riding a bike and 60 days after you actually see her walking down the corridor. Truly amazing, game-changing, paradigm shifting, and we hope that we can bring this therapy to many more patients because there's so many patients, and you here see multiple sclerosis on this slide, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus nephritis is our first lead indication, but there's so many indications where we think that B-cell depletion can make a huge difference. And we do this B-cell depletion by applying latest technology CAR T-cell therapy. This CAR T-cell therapy is a game changer already in other indications, but now we at Kyverna bring this to the field of autoimmune disease. And now many ask you, how does that work? And you know, I grew up with having to reset my computer very often with a paperclip. And this paperclip needs to fit exactly into that little slip to make sure that we can reset the computer. And this is how we're thinking about resetting your immune system, resetting the immune system with a very simple paperclip. We had that idea already 5 years ago, that using such a paperclip can deplete all B cells and build a company around it. And we're now in clinical trials, which is tremendously exciting as we see more and more data that allows us to think about pushing the field forward. So there's more and more evidence now that maybe this B cell depletion with our paperclip can work. There is single case studies in myositis, single case study in scleroderma, and single case studies in lupus nephritis that all hint at this phenomena that we might be able to deplete B cells with a CD19 CAR T cell therapy. It is very early and we have a long way to go, but we at Kyverna want to make sure that this is not a single center or a single patient experience, but we make that available to many, many more patients around the world. Now, there was, in a small group of patients who had lupus nephritis, there were very promising results. This work was done in Germany in a special program for compassionate use of experimental therapies in patients who have run out of other treatment options. The therapy was well tolerated with mild side effects. The therapy is a living cell therapy, so it is important that it was able to survive when returned to patient bodies. In the bodies, was able to eliminate disease-causing B cells. Normal B cells, which are very important for your healthy immune system, were able to then reestablish in the patient several months after treatment. All patients that you see here, these 5 patients in that study, received complete remissions. And it's amazing to see that the first patient is still completely free of any medications 800 days after the initial dose. So there's more data to come in the future. This first patient that I had just shared with you was an SLE patient with kidney involvement, so a lupus nephritis patient. And her SLEDAI scores went back to normal. Even within the first 4 weeks, her proteinuria went down. So very, very promising results. But as I had mentioned, she's not on any other follow-up medication, which is very exciting for us. Now, let me talk about this paperclip, which is important to understand. Our paperclip that we put onto your own cells that we first get from you when we manufacture this paperclip into your cells, and then we reinfuse that paperclip and the cells back into you, and they identify the B cells, and then they are depleting these B cells. And this paperclip is engineered especially for safety for patients with autoimmune disease. There's a significant clinical improvement demonstrated in our early studies because that's so important that in autoimmune disease, the safety of that medication is absolutely paramount for us here at Kyverna. So we just announced in June this year that we dosed the first patient in our clinical trial with our CD19 CAR T cell therapy for lupus nephritis. We're right now actively recruiting in sites, not only in the US, in the United States, in Colorado and in New York, but also we are recruiting patients in a trial in Germany with the lead opinion leader in the world. So if you have any questions, please see my chat, pmark@kyverna.com, kyvernatx.com, and feel free to engage with us and learn more how we can make a difference by bringing CD19 CAR T cell therapy to patients with autoimmune disease. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mag. I had chills watching the video. It's truly incredible and just so exciting to see this innovation happening and the potential for new treatments for folks who haven't found something yet. So I wanted to jump in and ask you a couple of questions. First being, how does cell therapy differ from some of the existing treatments for autoimmune disease that are currently out there? We're thinking like biologics and steroids. How is cell therapy different?
Well, cell therapy offers this, what I had mentioned, this autoimmune disease reset. And we haven't seen that before. So this would be a single application of one medication that would help you to reset the immune system, and you would be not producing autoantibodies anymore. And like this patient that is now experiencing 800 days without any medications, complete remission, it would be amazing if we can reset the immune system. So it's very different with monoclonal antibodies that you have to reapply and apply and apply, or with steroids. The efficacy that we have seen with monoclonal antibodies, we have clinical studies that, we change to placebo, maybe 10%, 15% of the patients are receiving improvement. This therapy right now has been working in a significant amount of patients, and they have been all responding. So it is really very early, very experimental, but it is extremely promising. And it is actually for the field a head scratcher, so to speak, that we have had this phenomenal result.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that you are in early stages. What clinical studies do you have ongoing? And is there a way that folks who are tuning in and are interested can learn more?
Obviously, this approach might be, as I mentioned, applicable to many autoimmune disease situations. Our lead indication right now is lupus nephritis. I had shared with you that we have been treating patients with myasthenia gravis, but there's also patients that have other diseases that are B-cell driven that we are exploring. So please contact us and see if we can enroll you in one of our studies at pmark@kyvernatx.com. And be happy to engage with you in this very quickly evolving field.
Awesome. And then one final question. I'd like to know, what is your personal hope for the future of autoimmune treatment?
My hope is that patients are engaging with their disease and understand what treatment options they have, and that they're their own master of that progression and the patient journey. This is obviously now very promising what we're doing, but you have to think about all the various treatment options and be very well informed together with your care team about what is happening on that journey. And then just one thing, I would also hope that, I know that we're talking to patients, but we're also talking to caregivers and families and friends. We at Kyverna say it takes a village in autoimmune disease. And that's really how we feel it. There's so many individuals involved, and autoimmune disease will need to tackle that from multiple fronts. So I hope that we can provide more hope to patients. And Lily, that's how you started. Hope for patients with new treatments and novel approaches.
Well, that you are most certainly providing hope, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this morning. And we are cheering you on here at the Autoimmune Association, and look forward to seeing your therapies develop. Thank you.
Absolutely. And next time, I'll promise you, I'll not only show you one patient's video, I'll show you a few that as we learn and gain insights. Thank you.
We can't wait. So now that we've taken a look at the innovation on the biotech side, we're going to take a look at what's happening in the tech, lifestyle, and nutrition side and hear from innovator and entrepreneur Ellen Rudolph. Ellen is an autoimmune patient herself, and her experiences inspired her to launch Well Theory. They've recently made some big announcements that I will let Ellen fill you in on. Ellen, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to hear your presentation.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Lily. I'm super excited to be here. And like I was just saying, this feels a little bit like a full circle moment for me because I've actually come to this summit before as a patient in the past. So really an honor to be here as a speaker today. So I will jump in. Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Rudolph, co-founder and CEO of Well Theory, and we're on a mission to reverse the growing autoimmune epidemic. As Lily shared, building Well Theory is really personal to me because it all started out with my own health journey. A few years ago, I navigated a chronic health mystery that unfortunately left me completely bedridden when I was just 25 years old. I went to doctor after doctor and got no answers. Eventually, I learned that what I was dealing with was autoimmune in nature, and it wasn't until I identified the root cause of my disease and completely overhauled my diet and lifestyle that I was able to reclaim my health. I shared my health story on TikTok one day and it went viral, reaching over 25 million video views and cultivating a community of over 85,000 followers who are navigating their own autoimmune journeys alongside me. It became very clear that there were so many people just like me who are suffering from autoimmune conditions and seeking better answers and solutions. During my own journey, I witnessed firsthand how the conventional medical system is failing those of us with autoimmune diseases today. My guess is that many of you have gone through a very similar, lengthy diagnostic journey that includes batteries of tests, ping-ponging from specialist to specialist, and trips to the ER and urgent care in your efforts to find answers. It takes 4.5 years and 5 doctors on average for us to even get a diagnosis, not to mention get on a path to feeling better. And unfortunately, during that diagnostic journey, 45% of us are labeled as chronic complainers and effectively told that it's all in our heads. And then once we're diagnosed, our solutions for treatment, unfortunately today, are really no better. Pharmaceutical biologics don't confer long-term remission and often introduce unwanted side effects. And this is in part because the standard of care is really focused on masking symptoms rather than treating the underlying root causes of these conditions. For example, what might manifest on the surface as a thyroid autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's with symptoms like brain fog, hair loss, and weight gain could actually be due to underlying hormonal imbalances, gut dysfunction, and inflammation. So to treat autoimmune disease really requires a fundamental paradigm shift in how we think about these conditions, and again, looking at the underlying issues rather than just fixing what's above the surface. So that's exactly why I partnered with my co-founders to create Well Theory. We really wanted to build the experience we wish we had earlier on in our own health journeys as patients and also as caregivers. And at Well Theory, we've created a first of its kind virtual platform that addresses the root cause of autoimmunity and really treats the whole person. We offer evidence-based nutritional and lifestyle coaching to reduce autoimmune symptoms and help you to feel like yourself again. So how do we do this? On top of over 40 studies backing our one-on-one care model, our program has been featured in 4 peer-reviewed published papers so far that have demonstrated that our program can significantly improve quality of life and clinical responses for autoimmune patients. And in one of the studies, the researchers spoke to how our program is as effective as drug therapies for certain conditions, with 73% of participants going into clinical remission by the end of our program. So we've packaged up the research into an evidence-based one-on-one coaching offering that's really tailored to you and supports you no matter where you're at in your autoimmune journey. As for how it works, we start by setting your baseline because we can't put together a comprehensive plan without knowing where you're at today and also understanding what you've tried in the past. So to do that, each member completes an extensive health onboarding that includes a root cause assessment to identify what underlying factors might be contributing to your autoimmune symptoms. Our members are then matched with a dedicated care team, which includes a licensed registered dietitian and board-certified health coach who really specialize in autoimmune disease. Each member has an initial in-depth 60-minute onboarding session where your care team walks through your personalized symptom data analysis, as well as a customized care plan, which is reassessed and readjusted at 3-month checkpoints based on your progress. And then from there, you'll receive ongoing support in the form of one-on-one live coaching calls with your care team, unlimited messaging, asynchronous educational content and masterclasses, community support through connections with other like-minded individuals, and advanced testing to, again, identify some of those potential underlying root causes. So we're backed by a renowned clinical advisory board of providers who have really dedicated their careers to understanding autoimmune disease, and they've played a really integral role in designing and also studying our research-backed program and peer-reviewed studies, as I mentioned. We also know that the majority of autoimmune patients have an existing care team of at least 3 other medical providers that they're juggling, and our goal is really to take the burden off of you to have to quarterback your own care. Not to mention the average PCP visit today is 18 minutes long, which unfortunately isn't typically enough time to really dig into the complexity of autoimmune disease. And as a patient, you often don't receive that ongoing support once you leave the doctor's office. So at Well Theory, we really believe in a collaborative care team model, and we aim to integrate alongside your existing physicians and specialists to support in between your doctor's visits. So we really take a 360-degree approach to care aimed at reducing your autoimmune symptoms, from what your lifestyle looks like to what you eat and drink, how you manage stress, what your sleep routines look like, and more, because 99% of your health is really in your everyday habits. So since launching our offering, our members have shared that we're filling a void that they haven't been able to find in their healthcare journey to date. Our members are telling us that their symptoms are finally resolving. They finally have energy to take on the day. They aren't in as much pain. They have good quality of life again, and they're finally getting their lives back. And as a result, they aren't ending up in the hospital or urgent care quite as much and don't need to rely as heavily on high-cost drugs and other expensive interventions. In terms of who we help, we specialize in supporting anyone with autoimmune disease or autoimmune-like symptoms on their healing journey. In our member population to date, we've supported individuals across 50 distinct autoimmune diagnoses and counting, including those who are undiagnosed and haven't been able to find answers yet. Part of why we've been able to support so many different conditions is because our approach is much more focused on targeting the root cause of your disease and tailoring it to you as an individual rather than just band-aiding some of the symptoms you might be experiencing. Because flare-ups tend to be inevitable, our goal is really to meet our members where they're at over this lifelong journey. I wanted to highlight a video from one of our members that I captured when speaking to her about her Well Theory experience. I had asked her, what would your reaction be if starting tomorrow Well Theory didn't exist? And here was her response.
That would be actually really, really hard. That made me tear up. It showed me the piece that I needed to have in my journey. And so I would probably fight pretty hard to find something that would feed the piece in the same way. So to get that same care and guidance that I've received the last couple of months, because if it was pulled out from me right now, I feel like my trajectory would definitely be thrown off and I would have a lot of like mental anguish.
So what we hear from our members time and time again is that often well theory is the first time they finally feel seen, heard, and actually guided in their health journey. And for the majority of our members, they are developing trusting, longstanding relationships with their care team. So from day one, making this care more affordable and accessible has been really central to our mission. And to achieve that, we needed to prove that well theory works and works at scale. And since publicly launching well theory to consumers last year, our core focus has really been twofold. Number one, build an engaging experience that consumers love. And number two, prove that our intervention works. And now we are bringing those proven outcomes to employers and health insurance providers so that they can offer well theory to their employees and members at zero cost. So I'm really excited to share, as Lily alluded to, that we officially announced our entry into the enterprise market actually earlier this week, and we have several partnerships underway with a number of leading companies and organizations in 2024. And while we work on getting those off the ground, we're really excited to offer viewers of the Autoimmune Community Summit $25 off your first month of well theory as a special bonus, which you can access through the QR code on the screen. So if you're really feeling frustrated with the lack of answers you're receiving or overwhelmed with how to manage your condition and quite frankly, where to even start, we're here to help guide you and create a step-by-step plan tailored to your individual needs to help you find the symptom relief that you're looking for. And we'd be really honored to support you on your health journey. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ellen. Oh, I'm so excited about what you're working on. And I have a bunch of questions. And the first one I want to start with, now I know there's no magic bullet, we know, for treating autoimmune disease. And I know you're focused on really personalizing the care, but is there anything across all of these different people and conditions that you've worked in? Are there a couple of solutions that you're finding are working well for folks across the board?
Yeah, so to your point, Lily, there's really no one-size-fits-all approach, and that's part of why the care that we deliver is really personalized and tailored to the individual. But research shows that 70 to 80% of the immune system lives in the gut, and so clearly there's a tight relationship between your gut health and microbiome and autoimmune disease. And so what we tend to see in the majority of our members is some, like I mentioned before, some of that underlying gut dysfunction. And so that tends to be an area where actually a lot of our members will start, is really focused again on sort of healing the gut, just given the impact and sort of tight-knit relationship between, again, the gut and autoimmune disease. So that's usually where we'll start with a lot of members, but again, it really just depends on we're all unique. We're all our own special snowflake. So understanding what someone's tried, what's worked and what hasn't, because we don't want to try and sort of reinvent the wheel, and just it's helpful to have that context going into it.
That's great. And that is something we're definitely starting to see more research too, which is exciting around, the gut and the connection to autoimmunity, the mind-gut connection, all of those different elements. So I'm also curious to know what your favorite part personally, as a patient, what's your favorite part of well theory?
Ooh. That's a good question. I think for me, it's really, I spoke to this in the example I shared, but it's really the relationship that I've developed with my care team. So I actually am a well theory member myself and go through the experience because I think it's really important to make sure that it's an experience that you can provide feedback on and that you find to be exceptional as well. And so I've been really fortunate to, again, just develop a great relationship with my providers. And I look forward to seeing them. They're like friends. Many of them have lived experience as well. And so I think that really helps because oftentimes they're not just talking the talk, they're actually walking, or they walk the walk, or they are walking the walk as well. And so I think that for me has helped to build a lot of sort of trust and credibility in some of the recommendations they provide.
That's fantastic. And I love that both you and Peter have brought this up in relationships with your care team. And it's perfect timing because it's something we'll also be discussing in a later session today. And so finally, I want to end by asking you, what is your hope for the future of autoimmune treatment?
Yeah, my hope is that every single individual with autoimmune disease feels empowered to take control of their own health. I'll speak from my own experience, but I felt really disenchanted with the healthcare system, and it felt like it wasn't until I decided that I was going to sort of take control of the situation that I felt really empowered. And so my hope is that patients are also really listened to. I spoke to how a lot of us tend to be sort of dismissed. And I think it's no surprise, unfortunately, that autoimmune conditions disproportionately impact women and people of color, that a lot of that medical gaslighting occurs. So I hope that we're actually listened to, believed, and looked at as a whole person rather than just sort of a fragmented set of body parts, and just providers who are looking at us again from a whole body perspective. And then lastly, I spoke a little bit to the importance of sort of personalization and tailoring, but I hope that every autoimmune patient can find treatments that are really tailored to their specific individual needs, because like I shared before, I really think there's no one size fits all approach here. So I hope that folks can find the approach that really works for them as an individual.
Amazing. Thank you, Ellen. And thank you for taking your personal experience and leveraging it to build something for all of us, to make an impact. It's really incredible. And I can't wait to see where well theory goes. And we are cheering you on, just as we are Kyverna Therapeutics here at the Autoimmune Association.
Thank you so much, Lily. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the time today.
Thank you.